Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, sexual abuse allegations in the UK sees Ghana star midfielder Thomas Partey denied entry into Canada and sidelined as the Black Stars Group L World Cup opener game kicks off against Panama in Canada. Also, here in France, Kenyan President William Ruto is amongst leaders attending the G7 summit, and he uses the platform to call for a reset in Africa's global diplomatic relations. And men in northern Benin forced to confront uncomfortable realities about the lives of the women who live and love amongst them. Training programs raising awareness about how men can make a huge difference in alleviating the health and social risks placed on women in some conservative communities. But first, we start off in North America, where Ghana is gearing up to kick off its World Cup campaign in the Group L opener match against Panama, without Black Star midfielder Thomas Partey. Our Canadian courts dismissed his appeal against the government's refusal of his visa last week. Partey faces allegations of sexual abuse in the UK, where he plays for English champions Arsenal. Despite the dark spot on the high-stakes game, our Justice Baidu says that Ghanaians are more than stoked ahead of the Wednesday evening showdown.
I am on the Oxford Street. It's one of the busiest neighborhoods in Ghana's capital, Accra. It is here that much of the excitement is already building up ahead of the country's first World Cup game against Panama. The country's performance in the run-up to this game today has not been so good, losing a streak of 8 matches. But several people that I speak with today are hopeful that the team can turn the tide.
Today's games, I don't know, but it is only God who will do it. And so we are just saying, if God make us the right direction, we can able to score and win.
The confidence I have for the players today, we are going to take the victory.
A day ahead of this game, the hopes of many fans, Ghanaian fans, were dashed as a Canadian court turned down an appeal to grant star midfielder Thomas Partey a visa to enter Canada to be part of this game. Thomas Partey had his visa application refused. He is currently standing trial for sexual abuse allegations in the United Kingdom.
I don't know the decision they are going to take yet, but I wish he plays because, he has been a pillar in Black Stars, and we are hearing of these stuff, and, this has been a challenge for him, and it's not a challenge for him alone, but the whole country. So we are hoping that things goes well, and then today they allow him to play.
Ghana should just realize that whether Partey is in the party or not, it is always going to be a GH win. So psych yourself up, bring the goals in, and let's win, because we're bringing the trophy back to the soil.
Ghana is one of 10 African countries taking part in this year's World Cup in Mexico, Canada, and the United States.
Justice Baidu there for us in Accra. Meanwhile, DR Congolese fans were ecstatic when the Leopards won their first ever World Cup point after facing Group K favourite Portugal and holding them to a 1-1 draw after Yohan Wissa equalised in first half injury time on Wednesday. But back home, the Ebola epidemic that disrupted DR Congo's World Cup training preparations and upended and cost the lives of at least 196 people since the emergency was announced last month continues to take its toll on affected communities and those trying to support them. The outbreak is centred in the east of DR Congo, around Ituri province, and has racked up at least 837 confirmed cases. Health teams on the front line say that they are so stretched that they're struggling to stay ahead of essential contact tracing. And in calling for more resources for the emergency, they've warned that they're also lacking ambulances to transport patients and even materials to build isolation wards. Well, here in France, Kenyan President William Ruto was amongst the world leaders attending the G7 summit, which wrapped up on Wednesday. He was invited by France in place of South Africa, which was no longer welcome after tensions deepened with the United States. Now, Ruto used the platform to call for a reset in Africa's wider global diplomatic and economic ties. Bastien Renouy breaks it down for us.
If Kenya is invited to this G7 summit in France, it's because Presidents Ruto and Macron developed a close relationship during the past few years. That's why the Africa-France summit was organized here in Nairobi a month ago. You know, Kenya's President William Ruto is trying to advocate for a greater recognition of Africa by international institutions. And a French president says that he is supporting this effort. That's why the two men are advocating for a permanent seat at the UN Security Council for Africa, and that's also why they are advocating for a reform of international financial institutions so that it could benefit Africa more. You know, during a speech at the G7 summit, Kenya's President William Ruto said that most of the time African countries have to borrow at a very high cost to develop their infrastructures, and that it's very difficult for them to move forward. He said that there is a misconception of the reality of the continent by international institutions such as the IMF and the World Bank. He said that investing in Africa is not that risky and that it can actually benefit investors. And it seems that members of the G7 agree with that. They signed a declaration saying that there is a need for reform, but what will happen next? That's the question. You know, in the past, a few years ago, members of the G7 already said that Africa should not export raw materials anymore, that these materials should be transformed on the continent so that they would have more value when they are exported to other countries. But so far, very few companies have turned these declarations into act. So what will happen after this new declaration? I guess we'll have the answer in a few years.
Bastien Renouy there for us. Now, men in northern Benin are being forced to confront the uncomfortable realities about the lives of the women who live and love them. A training program is raising awareness about how men can make a huge difference in alleviating the health risks and social pressures placed on women in some conservative communities. Graduates of the course become advocates themselves and are even dubbed model husbands. Our correspondent sent us this report.
Not so long ago, in Pelebina, northern Benin, it was uncommon for men to go to prenatal appointments with their wives. In fact, as most expecting parents preferred home births, even fewer women used clinics unless they faced complications. However, over the last 2 years, this clinic has seen demand for consultations rise by a third.
My older wives did not go to the hospital. We did not see the value in it. Today, everyone talks about the hospital. I've decided to go with my new wife, the youngest, for her prenatal appointments.
Since 2021, the School for Model Husbands has been training men to start conversations about gender roles with their peers. Having gone through the course, this cohort from Jehu is trying to change this man's perspective on his wife's wish to work.
We shared the example of a woman from our community. As her husband is sick, she was able to give 200,000 francs to treat him. Today, if her husband is alive, it's thanks to her.
The national NGO, Care Benin Togo, runs this program using local hubs.
Each school has 12 husbands. They are responsible, married, and respected. The classes for husbands in Jehu meet every Friday. Right after prayer time, the model husbands raise awareness in the community.
The trainees also intervene in inheritance disputes. After her father died, this woman came looking for support after her brothers excluded her from her share of land inheritance. The team brings the brothers in to negotiate on behalf of the client during a public meeting.
We've shown them that the Republic has a law. Men and women are all equal.
It's a win. The family dispute is successfully resolved without going to court.
I would have never imagined that I would get this piece of land. This will allow me to farm. With the harvest, I will be able to sell and cover expenses.
Graduates from the School for Model Husbands often operate in areas most affected by gender-based violence, becoming essential allies and advocates for women made vulnerable when they are silenced and sidelined by their communities.
And finally, traditional foods are making a strong comeback in Zimbabwe's second largest city, Bulawayo, as growing health awareness and nostalgia fuel demand for indigenous dishes. Restaurants serving sorghum sadza, village red chicken and other traditional meals are multiplying, attracting everyone from healthy diners to Zimbabweans coming home from abroad. Take a look.
In this garage converted into a kitchen, the day in Bulawayo begins with the preparation of traditional Zimbabwean dishes. Tomatoes are chopped, chilies salted, and ox heads prepared, while pots simmer over open fires. The meals here are cooked much as they were generations ago.
Here at this kitchen, we only cook food that is traditional and no other dishes that are non-traditional. Also, our chickens are from the village. Our meat bones are only boiled. Ox head, tripe and okra are all prepared the traditional way.
Nutrition experts say traditional grains such as sorghum and millet, along with vegetables, can provide important nutrients often lacking in more processed diets, a message increasingly resonating with customers.
They are doctors, they are elderly, they are young people who are raised in a certain way to understand, even religious people. They've come to understand some of these traditional meals, how important it is to take care of themselves, to be aware of themselves. We are living in a world whereby there's low obesity and there are different diseases. So some of the people now, they come to understand that prevention is better than cure.
Today, as customers fill Bulawayo's traditional restaurants, many are finding a taste of home and a renewed appreciation for Zimbabwe's culinary heritage.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us, though. And do so again if you can. Till then, take care.